President Obama yesterday unveiled a budget proposal to Congress calling for an end to spending caps on both domestic and military expenses. Those cuts were the results of months of political battles in 2013 known as sequestration. President Obama has included funding for a host of programs in his 2016 fiscal budget that Republicans consider anathema. His proposal sets up the next major political battle between the president and Republicans, who now control both houses of Congress. Mr. Obama laid out the policies reflected in this budget in his recent State of the Union address, and in an op-ed that he wrote yesterday in the Huffington Post, the president said, quote, "My budget will fully reverse the sequestration cuts for domestic priorities in 2016. It will match those investments with equal dollar increases for defense funding. If Congress rejects my plan and refuses to undo these arbitrary cuts, it will threaten our economy and our military. Investments in key areas will fall to their lowest level in 10 years, adjusted for inflation, putting American research, education, infrastructure, and national security at risk. But if Congress joins me, we can make sure that ending sequestration is fully paid for by cutting inefficient spending and closing loopholes, tax loopholes, that is." Joining me now is Lindsay Kosgerian. She is the research director with National Priorities Project. Hi, Lindsay.
Hi, Sonali.
Well, let's get into the numbers. According to Reuters, the budget proposal is a roughly 7% spending increase over these sequester limits. That includes $530 billion in non-defense discretionary spending. That's $37 billion above the caps. $561 billion, which is more, in defense outlays, which is $38 billion above the caps. That's a lot of defense spending. Is this budget disproportionately favorable to the military?
That is a lot of defense spending, and it's historically a very high level of defense spending as well. Of that $561 billion in defense spending, $534 billion of it is for the base Pentagon budget, and that's not even including an additional $50 billion for war spending. And that $534 billion, it would be historically the highest level for the base Pentagon funding in our history. So, there really is a real question about why we would need such a high level of spending right now. And one answer, of course, that people give is the current fight and the threat from the Islamic State, or ISIS, as people call it. But what's interesting about this budget is that it only lays aside $5.3 billion in war funding specifically targeted for ISIS. So the vast majority of that funding is for regular Pentagon operations, the ongoing fight in Afghanistan, which itself is drawing to a close. So there really is a question about why this level of funding needs to be so historically high at this point in time.
And let's go back a little bit. And can you remind our audience how the so-called sequestration cuts came about in the first place? In a nutshell, I mean, this took place in 2013, and the word sequester and sequestration, these were being bandied about in the media, but it's a bit of an obscure term.
Yes. So, I mean, what's important to note is that the official across-the-board cuts under sequestration have not actually taken effect. Back a couple of years ago, there was the Murray-Ryan deal, which was the Bipartisan Budget Act that set slightly higher levels for spending for both defense and non-defense spending that avoided the full impact of sequestration cuts. But that deal only lasted 2 years. So coming up on fiscal year 2016, that threat of sequestration of the blind across-the-board cuts to spending comes back into play if Congress can't work out a deal to avoid that.